So fans just discovered this small feature slash detail in Hogwarts Legacy, which is, well, very interesting, but it does need a tweak. Now the DLC feature in Hogwarts Legacy, a one-liner from a random NPC encounter that changed, well, quite a lot, at least for them. Pausable cutscenes, photo mode, and lastly, don't be afraid to get rid of a certain something in this game. Tons to get through, so a like is very much appreciated, but turn that into a dislike if you get to the end and you didn't enjoy the video. But we'll kickstart with something that I know a lot of people are afraid to do, and a post said the following: PSA, don't be afraid to sell excess gear. Every new clothing design you find gets saved as a transmog, meaning that you'll be able to still wear your favorite looks without sacrificing stats. It then continues to say, this took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out, because it wasn't very obvious from the start of the game. Originally, I was disappointed by the lack of inventory slots for gear, but because any look can be applied to any item, there's no reason to hoard bad gear. Just keep a few powerful items and maybe some alternative pieces with different traits that you need, and then just go ahead and sell the rest. Now I do hope that this helps a ton of you guys out there, because I know so many people have been very cautious, and one of the key reasons being is that you can get gear at multiple different levels, so people are kind of just hanging on to certain things for various different reasons. But one thing I will say is, as amazing as this game is, I truly believe that the game does need a sell all button. I truly believe it would solve a lot of problems and definitely save a lot of time as well, where you just have to of course go and sell the gear. Just having one button to do that would help a ton. Now, 40 hours into the game, and this one-liner from a random NPC encounter made me laugh harder than any other game in recent memory. A post made by a Reddit user that continued to say, a teenager coming out of Gladrags with discount enchanted socks that force him to dance. His mum reassures him, don't worry, no one is looking at you. Now, once he steps out the door, a little kid shouts, hey, look at that boy. Now, there are so many small interactions like this in the game, and I truly think the attention to detail in this game is outstanding and incredible as a whole, which leads me onto the small detail slash feature that a fan has discovered in this game that left a lot of other fans, well, rather confused. So the post says the following: has anyone discovered that males can't go in female dorms, but females can go in male dorms? Not a political statement, just a funny thing I noticed when my wife made her character this morning. My wife and I are both in Hufflepuff. She can enter my dorm, but I can't enter hers. Now, of course, it makes sense, but what's interesting is there apparently is an equipment chest. Now, this is the confusing part slash or rumor, but I think people are genuinely confusing it for an actual treasure chest. Now, a fan did also continue to add that having something like this in the game is actually book accurate, because it happened also in Harry's time, and ultimately how they just need to go ahead though and move the treasure chest somewhere else, devs. Couldn't agree more, but again, it's a very small feature in the game that you really would pretty much for the most part be oblivious to, unless there is two of you guys playing the game, or you know, another person that is a different gender in the game, and then they just of course have access to another side of the dorm, which I genuinely thought is very interesting. Now, this game so sorely needs a photo mode, and I could not agree more. I'm actually shocked that they did not include it, as the game looks incredible. Plus, there are so many communities on various games that share community images as well, and I think it specifically would be great for those that are also trying to recreate movie images or even do comparisons and more. Now, another thing that fans also agree on and feel is so desperately needed is the ability to pause cutscenes, and I read a post that proved just how important it is. So the post says the following: Being a new dad and not being able to pause cutscenes is frustrating. Another person mentioned that this is their second time seeing a new dad post about this issue and how they are also a new dad and glad that there are more of them, but what it also says is that I've missed a few crucial moments because I've basically had to drop everything and go. And the only way that they can actually, of course, go ahead and get that cutscene back is by restarting the entire quest, for example. Now, definitely something I did spot, definitely something that would just save a ton of time should you have the ability to just go ahead and pause it. Plus, the story and just the whole script of this game is phenomenal, and you can play it in two ways. You could skip through a ton of them or actually sit down and watch the cutscenes to kind of get the context and of course the narrative as a whole. So I really feel it's vital, but again, having that pause button should just also be as crucial, but I'm eager to hear your thoughts on this as well in the comment section below. Now, the big question and a statement: the DLC potential for Hogwarts Legacy if done right. Now, someone added the following: this game is a literal infinite money glitch if they play their cards right. I mean, right out of the gate, an immersion DLC that focuses on another year of Hogwarts with new classes, spell, Quidditch, maybe even a few more additions to the castle. That alone, and most Harry Potter fans would be screaming, "Take my money." Someone then mentioned a genius idea which says the following: I read that canonically the next year in-game is the Trizzard tournament, and I'd love for a sequel to feel like we are returning for another year at Hogwarts with the backdrop of the tournament. Like, give me a Durmstrang companion and let me tame a dragon and then go to the Yule Ball. Edit: for everyone saying that the Trizzard tournament was cancelled in 1792, if we are saying that the sequel is set in 1892, I actually feel like it being the 100-year anniversary of the cancellation makes it even more likely to happen. They could very easily deviate slightly from canon and have this be a quote-unquote test year to bring it back. Then of course, something terrible happens at the end of the game/tournament that intervenes with our character's story, resulting in basically it just being banned for another 100 years. Then it would make sense that the characters don't reference it in, of course, the Harry Potter world because it was technically never brought back and effectively remained cancelled. I don't know. I think it's too good of an opportunity to pass up, and they could easily make some kind of justification for it, and honestly, I completely agree with this, and I believe there is so much more within reason, of course, to add to this game. I mean, sure, it does not have multiplayer, but we all know of that game that has been thriving solely off DLC content, and though it's nowhere near similar to this game, the context still remains the same. Now, how wild that DLC content gets is another thing, and what I mean by that is how creative it gets and or how out of touch it gets from the main story. But here's the thing: if they completely overlook DLC content for this game, or at least on a bigger scale, then that does mean that they have very likely been given the opportunity for a sequel. Now that usually is what happens, but even then, I think what they have created is the absolute perfect base to now just build on, and then the sky is the limit. But I'm eager to know what your ideas for a DLC would be. Let me know in the comment section below. And also, are you being a good wizard? Are you being a bad wizard? I genuinely found it difficult to be a bad wizard, but I've listed 4 horrible things that you can do in Hogwarts Legacy. So go ahead and check that video out that you see on screen right now.